Good morning and welcome to Today in LA as we start a work day on a Tuesday as we got a cold one out there again. Of course, it was cold yesterday and it's cold today, but hopefully the warm weather will be starting to move in here for the rest of the week, and we'll have some good weather to either go outside and rake leaves or stay inside and watch TV or go play golf or whatever it is on your menu. I hear from a deep background, a guy named Bill Rice Jr. will be in here in a minute to talk about what's going on in Troy and Pike County. Of course, we go out to all the folks on Facebook this morning around the world, across the nation. We are on Facebook, and Rice coming in here. You look good, Rice. What's going on?
Well, I'm sorry I missed yesterday. My car battery died.
Well, I reckon when you don't have a car, you couldn't walk. I could have sent one of these guys over here.
I thought about. Well, I called you at 6:48 to see if you could come pick me up, but I didn't get you. That's all right.
Just barely. Of course, Rice is in his colorful attire this morning. What's been going on?
Well, got the car battery working again, so that's good. I'm not watching the Winter Olympics yet. Are you watching it?
No.
I've read headlines on the Drudge Report, and they say record low TV ratings.
Oh, really? Yeah, I would think so.
It's going to be a huge bust for NBC. So maybe I need to support these athletes, but there's nobody hardly in the crowd, and China is like a prison. They've locked down the whole country. I'm no fan of China.
I wish somebody get out and tell it all, don't you?
Yes, but I don't expect that to happen.
Because we've got a great show for you. Listen to this. Don Maestri will be calling into our show around the 8:15 mark. So, 7:15 mark. And it's going to be a lot of fun to talk to one of the all-time greats, not only as a basketball player or basketball coach, but also as a great person and a great individual that.
Well, it's good for you for organizing. And they're going to honor the 258 team.
That's right. They're going to honor the team that scored 258. 258 win. They beat the team from Georgia 258 to 147. That's a record that I don't believe will ever be broken.
Well, it's been 30 years and it hadn't been broken.
I believe if somebody even went out there and just started shooting, that they would still not break the record.
That's what I said. You go out there and try to score 258 points in 40 minutes against air.
And then also a team that in that game hit 51 three-pointers. I wish we had somebody hit 51 three-pointers now.
Yep.
Boy, we'd be tough.
We took those great three-point shooters for granted, but you can't find them on every street corner.
Not only was he a great coach, Don Maestri, and of course his assistant coach David Felix, but Don Maestri was a superhuman being. I mean, a great person and one of the great people that's ever walked these sidewalks and these halls of Troy University. And I'm just tickled pink that he's going to be coming on our show as a guest by way of telephone. And we'll get Mike in, make sure Michael's in on the conversation because he knows a lot about that team and he was at that game. One of the things about that game, it didn't snow every day. But it snowed that morning. You remember that?
There was snow on the ground.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah,
I don't know if it was left over from the night before, but that's right. There was a little snow on the ground. It was an afternoon game. It was on Sunday.
Yeah, I remember that too.
I know all this because I was sports editor of the Troy Messenger and really enjoyed writing about the basketball team. And that was as you might imagine, a fun basketball team to cover. And a great coach to work with because Coach Maestri is such a fine gentleman. he would, as I've said on this show before, he would often call me and say, "Bill, do a story on this. How you doing?"
Yeah.
Instead of me having to chase him down and find him. That was very rare for a sports editor to have the coach all the time calling him.
Well, I tell you, it's going to be quite a week as this team will be honored this Saturday. Well, is it a day game or night game? I can't remember. We'll get that time for you in a few moments.
That's this Saturday?
Yeah, this Saturday. They honor the team that won. Is this the 12th?
Today is the 8th, I think.
Yeah, this is. I believe it's the 12th, and it's
Well, I wanted to do a big story looking back on that team and that record, and if I'm going to do it, I better get on the ball.
Yeah, you're right. Of course, drinking a good hot cup of coffee this morning, compliments of Steve Camp.
Mm-hmm. It's hot coffee. We got a new coffee maker here.
Yeah, boy, it's good. It's real good. Of course, I want to remind you that Auburn Tigers, Big Albie is awfully excited because they continue to win. They continue to win as the Auburn Tigers, winners of the last 18, I think.
I watched the last 5 minutes of the Georgia game. I haven't watched much college basketball. Auburn had their hands full against Georgia, which beat Alabama and was supposed to be one of the worst teams in the SEC, but Georgia had lots of chances
War Eagle
to win that game. And somehow Auburn found a way to win it. They made a big play at the very end.
I watched the game, and it came down to the very end. In fact, it was tied, and Georgia missed a easy shot, but they left about 8 or 9 seconds on the board.
Yeah.
And Auburn gets it. That guy gets it and runs
guard shoots down the
court and just sort of throws himself into the guy, and he missed the basket, but
got the rebound.
The guy got the rebound and put it up and in, and Auburn was able to beat Georgia in a good basketball game. I watched a lot of it on TV, and of course we've got a lot of
Auburn is undefeated in the SEC. Like you say, have won 18 in a row. I mean, that doesn't happen every season.
It sure does.
They might go undefeated in the SEC for the whole year.
Of course, I want to mention also high school basketball. The area tournaments have started, and the girls have started, and wanted to congratulate a few of those guys. Sampson loses very few girls basketball games, but they lost one last night to Pleasant Home, 39-29, and Florella beat Kinston, 60-35. And then the Brantley Bulldogs continue to win. They beat Georgiana 56-26 in girls basketball. That's Area 1 play. In Area 2, they've got into a pretty good basketball league. Let's see here. Know this, that the girls of Charles Henderson High School, they won last night, and over Andalusia. How about this? 46-26. So very good outing for Charles Henderson. And now it looks like they'll play Carroll High of Ozark and Rehoboth in the 5A area championships, and that's going to be a good one. Carroll has got a good girls team, and so does Charles Henderson. So again, Carroll wins 55 to Rehoboth's 26. Other games in our area was Providence in Area 3 beat Daleville 51-25, and now they'll that's in Area 3. In Area 4, Pike County beat New Brockton. That's a big win for the Pike County girls, 61-56. And then the Bobcats beat Goshen in Area 4, and that final was 53-25. So a lot of those, that's going to be a big showdown between Opp and Andalusia coming up.
Opp and Goshen are in the same area?
No, excuse me, Opp and Pike County. What now?
Okay.
There's one of them's in Area 4, and the other one's there in Area 3.
Up in Pike County.
Yeah,
I think,
that's
yeah.
right. But those games are going on. I believe they're being played in Montgomery, and that's some good basketball. You want to ride up there and take a look at them, girls basketball.
Well, it's tournaments everywhere,
Yeah,
boys, girls. Then it's kind of confusing that if you're the number 1 seed, you don't have to win you still go to the second round. I can't keep up with it.
No, you're right. It's pretty tough to keep up with. I want to mention a couple other games of interest. Pratt will beat Jeff Davis. They're still, and then Dothan beat Enterprise in girls basketball. Park Crossing beat Sidney Lanier, beat them bad, and Carver Montgomery beat Robert E. Lee. Let me tell you this: I wouldn't normally say this about any team, but last night, Long High School of Skipperville beat Zion Chapel 77-5.
What?
Unless I'm reading it wrong, they beat the Long High School of Skipperville, beat Zion Chapel. Evidently, they couldn't pull off the horses, you know.
Well, unless that's a typo, that's what it says.
77-5. So I don't know if that ends.
Well, that's
Zion
just
Chapel's league.
something you don't see every day. Guten Morgen.
Good morning. Mike Amos calling in from Great Beach, Florida this morning on our show. And, of course, our show...
I want to tell you something your father just found. We got to check this. It says it on the HSA area basketball scores. GW Long girls beat Zion Chapel 77-5.
Wow.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of a 72 point differential and then one team only scoring 5 points the whole game?
Yeah. Of course.
Yeah, I didn't realize until last week that Randy Price stepped down as football coach too.
No, I didn't know that. I didn't know that either. I didn't know that. So good luck to Randy wherever he goes, because he's a fine football coach.
I think he's going to stay on as athletic director throughout the rest of the year.
I want to mention.
What else can happen after that?
Well, maybe maybe that score is a typo or.
I'm afraid it's correct. Strawn beat Ashford 37-35, and Geneva beat Dale County 55-17. This is area play. Booker T. Washington beat Bullock County 52 to 12, and Dallas County beat Montevallo. That's just some other scores.
You see that in girls basketball, college, and definitely high school, these extreme blowouts. I've always noticed in college basketball, so it's like there's really only 15 teams that are really good, and then there's a lot of teams that are nowhere close to the same level.
Mike, we got a treat for you this morning. Don Maestri is coming on our show. Actually going to be calling in on our show in about 3 to 4 minutes from now. And, of course, we're going to be talking about what his basketball team did 30 years ago, and that was score 258 points in a basketball game when they defeated the DeVry Institute of Atlanta by the score of 258 to 147. Believe it or not.
I don't believe it, because I think it's 258 to 141.
No, you're wrong. I'm right and you're wrong.
Okay, you sound pretty sure, but I'm going to check it.
I've been talking about that score for years. DeVry Institute, I want to say they scored 147 and Troy scored 258.
I know Troy scored 250.
Isn't there some article about some guy trying to say the score was different?
I've heard something about that too. Yeah, they've trying to.
There's a guy that claims, I don't know, maybe a few 3-pointers were changed or should have been 3-pointers. I can't remember what the deal is.
Yeah, but of course,
well, I'm going to do a story on it and interview some of these guys while they're here. I mean, that's just too big a story for people not to pay attention to it. Even 30 years later, it needs to be honored.
Well,
It's like there were like 2,000 of us that can say we were there. Maybe it was about 1,800. What would you say? It was a decent crowd, pretty good crowd.
It was an afternoon game, I want to say. Is that
I
right?
guess the more interesting thing to ask would be the players was the fixed zone. Had they talked to the other team the night before? Did they talk to the other players before the game? I mean, because everybody knew what had happened the year before. You know, that was one of those kind of things.
189. I want to say 189 the year before, and I'm not looking at the record book.
I'm just saying there was not a whole lot of defense in that game.
Well, no, you say I wouldn't use the word fixed, but it was obvious that DeVry was going to play along and not really
hold the ball
or anything. But they didn't. They only had like 8 players. I mean, there's nobody saying that DeVry was a great team, but it's the point I keep coming back to is it doesn't care who the team is. To be able to score that many points, you've got to be moving incredibly fast, and you've got to hit a ton of 3-point shots.
I know. I knew the.
That was a playoff game last night when GW Long beat Zion Chapel in Jack, Alabama.
Yeah, that's right. It was a regional playoff game. Yeah.
So that's the team that made the playoffs.
GW Long is 10-2.
Yeah. Well, and of course Andrew Jetski, Mike, one of my favorite officials, officiated that game. He and another one of my officials' friends also officiated the
Write
game.
his name down. I want to see if I can get that with him.
Andrew Jetski or Andrew Jetski.
He lives in Birmingham.
Yeah, he used to run that indoor ice skating rink up there, Mike.
Yeah.
Andrew Jetski, I would say Jetski.
Well, I wish Troy TV, they filmed the game, and surely they saved that, and Trojan TV can start replaying.
Yeah.
This must be him. Hold on a second.
That's right.
Good morning. You're on Today in L.A.
This is Don Maestri.
Hey, Coach.
The legendary Don Maestri.
This is Bill Rice and Mike Amos. Let me switch and we're bringing in Michael Amos on the phone. Hold on one second.
Michael Jr., so he knows more about this game. Oh, there we go. We're on the air with Don Maestri. Good morning, Coach. How you doing?
I'm doing great.
Are you hearing us good? Are you hearing us loud and clear?
I can hear you very loud and very clear.
Okay.
And, I'm looking forward to coming down there this weekend.
Well, I know it's going to be a big weekend where Troy celebrates the 258 victory over DeVry Institute. And, of course, those players are coming back. Are all of them going to be here, Don?
Just about the whole team's coming. And also there's going to be a lot of former players coming. It's going to be kind of a reunion of many, many teams. A bunch of them, 7 of them won conference championships, and 8 of them went to postseason tournaments. So
Yeah.
There's a lot of players coming back besides the 258 team. And then, of course, we've got a bunch of coaches coming back also from the different teams.
Oh, boy. I tell
Wow.
you, that's going to be. Are you going to have an event on Friday night or Saturday night after the game? Or what are your plans?
Well, we've always kept those things kind of secret. But we will definitely be getting together, that's for sure. Before the game, the university is throwing a thing in the rotunda an hour before the game with drinks and food and from Sodesco. And then I think at halftime, the 258 team will go out on the court. There's I think maybe a highlight of the game from ESPN that.
Coach, is that a day game or a night game? Do you know?
It's a day, 4 o'clock.
Yeah, 4 o'clock.
Men's team playing.
Well, that's good.
We'll be there to watch that game, and at halftime of the men's game at 4 o'clock, the 258 team will go out on the court.
By playing the game in the afternoon, y'all going to have a party, I believe, after the ball game, don't you think?
We may have to try to organize something.
Don Maestri, not only coach, when I speak of you, not only a great coach of 30 years, is that right, Coach? 30 years?
Yes, sir.
And but not only though, Coach, do we speak of you as a great coach, basketball coach, but we speak of you as being a great human being and a great Christian layman.
Well, there's a lot of people in Troy like that, and they made our lives special, and so it was a lot easier to really be involved with the city because there's so many people in the city that are great people, and there's a lot of people coming back for the game that we started with 30 years ago.
Yeah.
They'll be coming also.
Was the little girl that rode that unicycle? Is she coming back?
Kim Barnett.
She might be a grandmama by now. You reckon?
Her brother is Eddie Barnett is a good friend of mine. I'll call Eddie. Hey, Coach, this is Bill Rice Jr. And I'm going to talk to you and some of those players if I can, and do a retrospective story on that team and how you built that program. I mean, everybody remembers 258. But also a lot of people watching this show right now, they remember Kim Barnett riding in on the unicycle and your team doing the Harlem Globetrotters routine. Anything to create interest and draw a crowd and support your program, right?
Well, what happened when we got the job, David Felix and I, there was about 100 people coming to the game. So initially, not only did we want to try to bring in good players to win, we also wanted to get people interested in basketball. So we came up with the Showtime idea, and we started having some of the largest crowds in the Gulf South Conference within the first year.
Gosh.
So, and then you got to win because no one's coming to see you.
Oh boy, were those some great teams.
My favorite thing, Coach, was this little Michael Amos calling from Graydon, was the airplane contest you guys started. My age group, we love that more than anything. We were also out there, part of the dribblers, Blake Crow and I and a bunch of other guys I grew up with were out there trying to spin the ball and having fun before the games. But the atmosphere back then for the Gulf South Conference was really incredible.
Right. Well, when I came in from the University of Alabama, and we had just won the SEC tournament. We had gone to the Sweet 16 and lost to North Carolina, and Michael Jordan went on to win the national championship. I think if we could have beat Carolina, which we lost by 5 points in Carolina in the NCAA tournament, we may have won the national championship. So when you leave a place like that and you come to Division II, you think that you're automatically going to be successful. What I didn't realize was that the Gulf South Conference was the best Division II conference in the nation.
Mm-hmm.
Matter of fact, there's two guys, Bill Jones of North Alabama, Bill Jones of Jacksonville State, are in the Alabama Hall of Fame. Both of those guys won national championships in the Gulf South Conference.
Yep.
Ed Murphy, who was at Delta State, took his team to the Final Four in the NCAA. Roger Kaiser, the head coach of West Georgia, won a national championship. All of this in the same league.
Yeah.
So you had to really up your game to be competitive in that Gulf South Conference. It was a great league with great crowds. When we went to Jack State, it would be packed. To North Alabama, it would be packed, and vice versa when they came to our place.
It was great rivals, yeah.
Also. So it was it was a great conference and a great league and great rivalries, even in baseball.
Well, you did a lot more than come up with Showtime. I mean, you probably spoke to every civic group and school group that would let you speak. You and Coach Felix just did all you could to promote the program, and it paid off. And those wins started coming pretty early. And then you were playing traditional basketball, I would say, Coach Maestri. And then at some point, you said, "I'm going to do a radical change." And we're going to play this three-point shooting up-tempo game that I guess Loyola Marymount played. Tell us how that came about.
That came about. David Felix and I were at his house one night having a little cocktail late at night. And we turned the TV on, and West Coast games don't come on till late at night. And we saw Loyola Marymount, and we said, "Man alive, what is contacted them, and I got a bunch of film videotapes back then, and decided because of our height the next year, we had our tallest guy was about 6'4", 6'5", that we were just going to change the style totally and go with this run and gun system. And we had the type of players to make it work. That's the deceptive part. It will not work for every team. You better have guys that can shoot. You better have athletes. We also had the press because that takes the tempo, the speed of the game as faster than the other teams used to playing. So that's how that came about. One night at David's house, we happened to see Loyola Marymount, and then started studying them, and it fit our kids.
Well, what did your players think when you went? I guess it's almost like Coach Bryant going and saying, we're going to the wishbone. What did they say when you told them you can shoot any three-point you want?
And if you don't shoot, I'm going to pull you out. If you don't shoot, I'm going to pull you out.
But you also had to be in tremendous shape, and so I guess the off-season conditioning became even more important.
Yes, and that was another thing that we were kind of proud of. Sports Illustrated came down when we averaged 121 points a game, and they did an article on us, and they took the picture of our basketball team on the track.
Oh, yeah.
Running, and we had kids throwing the ball back and forth, running around the 440, and that picture was in Sports Illustrated. It wasn't taken in the gym. It was taken outside on the track with our kids throwing balls and running around the track. So the kids loved it. Obviously, anybody would love it if you tell them, you can shoot it as soon as you catch it.
That's right.
But at the same time, you better be able to make a lot of them. But, Bill, one of the things I still have I didn't save a lot of stuff from back then. I saved some Showtime brochures that we put in McDonald's and all the different restaurants as a little placemats to advertise. But I also have an article that you wrote prior to us ever going to the first Final Four in Division II about how this program was going to end up being successful and eventually in Division I, more the NCAA tournament. You predicted that way before any of that happened, and so I've saved that article because of that. And I'm going to look for it before I come to Troy, because I'm going to give that to you. It was a great article.
Well, bring some of that memorabilia down, and then I'm going to grab you, and I'm going to try to do a real good story, and then sell it to somebody like ESPN or The Athletic, because the story, now we've set the stage kind of how you changed the program, got some fan support, went to this running gun system. Now, tell us about this DeVry game. I've always thought that nobody made any secret that y'all wanted to be the first team to score 200 points. And if I remember correctly, you came close to doing it the season before, and so you said, all right, we're going to do everything we can to do it this year.
I want to say 189 the year before, Coach. What was it?
I think it was 180. It may have been 189, 187. It was in the high 180s. You're right. And personally, it wasn't my goal. I think that the DeVry kids also, they scored 100 and whatever it was, 40-something points.
I want to say 47.
Because the only way you're going to get that is if both teams are playing similar styles, which is they were throwing up shots and playing fast, and we were playing fast. And I'm one of the few that it's not as significant to me personally as were all the conference championships and the postseason tournaments, because that takes a whole year to accomplish. Mm-hmm. And that was just a one-night thing where we hit 51 threes, which, that's hard to do in practice.
Oh, I know it.
Those are some things that were significant about the game. But we got more attention from that game nationwide. Matter of fact, one of the guys I worked with in New Orleans called me from Hawaii. It was in their newspaper in Hawaii. Yeah. So we got a lot of attention.
And nobody could believe it. Nobody.
The advertising for little Division II Troy, it was unprecedented. Yeah.
Hey, Don, it's sort of like.
It was, and we had a bunch of radio shows call in. Some of them said the game was fixed. Others said it was amazing. So we had a lot of publicity for a game because of the 258, even though the bigger accomplishments personally were conference championships, because that took a whole season to accomplish.
All right, let me make sure.
It was also weird. It snowed that, I
say.
No, that was a playoff game when that happened.
I thought it snowed the day of 258.
It may have snowed afterwards because we were.
There was snow on the ground. I want to say there was snow on the ground. Yeah.
But it was the players enjoyed it. Except for Andy Davis. He's a CEO.
He scored 2 points.
He scored at one basket and said, "Coach, I can't do that. I'm not shooting anymore." He just kept throwing the ball to the other kids to shoot threes. And,
He might have been the reason for it. Yeah.
He's the CEO of a hospital in Boston now, so
No, I'm not surprised.
Smarter than all of us and all of our players. But,
Is he going to be down at Saturday?
yes, he's also coming.
Oh man.
He was. That's another fun thing. I was the sports editor of the Messenger, and
Right.
these were fun kids to be around. I mean, they had great personalities, and they were real nice. Andy Davis, I think he took pride in the fact that I ain't going to score any points, but I'm going to set up all these other people and get the rebounds. I think he scored the first bucket of the game, and then that was it.
That's it. And, so he's known for the guy with 258 that scored 2.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
He's probably your favorite player of all time, though, Troy, isn't he, Coach?
No, the ones that were the MVPs of the league are some of my favorites, to be honest.
Yeah.
I know, but I mean, Andy was such
You know what? Let me tell you something. Every time I won,
great player.
Every time I won Coach of the Year award, we had a point guard that was either first team all conference or MVP.
Yeah.
That tells you a little bit about Coach of the Year. Anyway, Andy Davis not only is a great, was a heck of a player. He's a great person.
Yeah.
And he's a super smart kid. He was a president of his class from the 6th grade all the way up, and he was also on Troy's student council.
From Graceville, Alabama, home of the great. Have you ever eaten shrimp from Graceville? You ever eaten the shrimp there?
Haven't, but I went there many times when we were recruiting Andy.
Yeah, and of course.
But, he's definitely a student athlete that the university is extremely proud of.
Yeah.
They should be.
I'm glad
I remember. You could see there was tension before that game. As those players, the players wanted to do it, and you can't blame them, in my opinion, for wanting to do something that's never been done. And I mean, when that tip went off, it was like the gun had gone off on the finals of the 100-meter dash at the Olympics. They were so focused that they were going to maximize every second and try to do this.
Yeah.
Again, the other team had a lot because they played fast also.
Yeah, that's right.
You can't do it. I got a great story, though, from Billy Tubbs was the head coach of Oklahoma, and he called to me after that, and the Oklahoma was, they had gone to the Final Four the year before and everything else. They were really good at that time. And he called and he said, "Look, Coach, I see where y'all scored this 258, and I'm looking for a game." And because he wanted to do it, obviously, in Division I. So I said, "Well, Coach, we're not going to play you." He said, "I'm not calling to play you. I want to play the team you play."
I got you. Yeah, I could have done it.
But like you said, the first thing that comes out to you, they hit 51 3-pointers out of 106 or something like that attempted,
Right.
and then I think even more than anything, I think that the team was surprised at how many points they were going to score.
Well, I wonder what
nobody in the history of college basketball or pro basketball had ever scored that kind of
there's
point.
probably about 20 records that were set, and then the 3-point record shots made in the game, I mean, it just annihilated the previous record. And I bet you it's still more than 20 3-pointers more than...
Well, we have, it's kind of interesting. Last year, Alabama played LSU. I've been going to a bunch of Bama games, and this was at LSU. And they hit 20-some threes and had a chance. We still hold a Division I record. A lot of people don't realize that. We hit 28 3-pointers against George Mason after we moved to Division I at George
That's
Mason.
in Division I.
The most threes hit in a Division I game is 28.
George Mason went for the Final Four about 10 years ago.
Yes. So, I mean, it was, legitimate. Of course, they had the guy that invented the Marymount system was the head coach, George Mason. So
Oh, really?
it was an up-tempo game the whole way. But but we had made more threes than George Mason made, and it's still a Division I record.
Hey, Coach, have you ever seen a team shoot as bad as Alabama shot against Kentucky the other night? That was one of the worst shooting games I've ever seen in my life.
There were 2 out of 32. There were 2 for 32, something like that.
Yeah, and it was one of I was at the game. It was a great crowd, 15,000, and they just played Kentucky wasn't very good either. The game was just a sloppy game, and I felt kind of bad for the Alabama players because they have got a bunch of great kids on that team.
Yeah.
And they've just hit a little slump right now. I mean, they beat 3 teams that were in the Final Four last year, Gonzaga, Houston, and Baylor.
Yeah.
And now they're not playing very well. And that was their worst shooting night since I've been watching for the last couple of years.
You know,
what about Nate Oates? You like Oates as a coach?
Yeah, he's not only a great coach, a great person. He's invited me. He allows me to come to practice, and but he treats everybody like that, not just me. He makes everybody feel important. He reminds me of the people back in Coach Bryant's days when I was at Alabama. They always made everybody feel important, from the guy running the concession stand who used to bring Coach Bryant a play every week, and he actually thought he was running the thing. And that atmosphere permeated the whole athletic department when I was there. Well, Oates, the same way, as staffs like that, they treat everybody the first time they meet him like you've been involved in the program for years. So he's a great person besides being, and of course I like the system, so that the fast-paced system that he runs.
I remember going back to the DeVry game. I think Troy was a little tight at the beginning because they wanted to do so well, and at first, the shots weren't following. But as you'll remember, Coach, more than anybody, and Coach Felix, once somebody hit 1 or 2, it seemed to be contagious, didn't it? I mean, you could just run off these runs of just an amazing amount of points in 2 or 3 minutes, and at some point, just everybody, it was contagious. Everybody started hitting.
And then.
I think Brian Simpson hit 11 threes of the 51. He was, but he was a good three-point shooter, which is a lot of our guys were. So
he scored 37 points in 15 minutes.
Oh, really?
Now this is a kid from Kentucky.
Kentucky, yeah, he's coming in. He's got a big time. He's running he's highly successful to another millionaire. We've had a lot of successful kids on that team and on other teams that have really made, Anthony Reed is a big success. His son plays with the Denver Broncos. And so we've got a lot of players in Troy that we're proud of what they've accomplished after they left Troy.
Yeah, no question about it.
We talked about Anthony Reed's son a lot, how Troy had missed out. He was at Dothan High School, and instead of Troy recruiting him, guy ends up going to play at Nevada. He's all-conference linebacker 2 years at Nevada, and now he's a great player for the Denver Broncos. Troy really missed that kid.
Yeah. Well,
it's hard to. You never know what kid's going to develop. In high school. I remember Coach Bryant telling. I went to listen to him talk to a recruiting class one day in the morning. He talked to the parents of kids they were interested in, and one of the parents said, "Well, if my kid's all-state and all-American and all, he'll probably be a great player here." And Coach Bryant said, "We'll never know if they're great players until they play in front of 70,000 people."
Yeah.
So you just never know. Some kids develop, other ones who are all-Americans in high school end up being not so great in college.
Well, I can sit here and name some great players, and a lot of them are in the Hall of Fame, the Troy Hall of Fame. And one thing about Anthony Reed, Coach, I think he has the top scoring average of any Troy player ever. But I've always said this: if Anthony Reed could have shot free throws, hey, he would have averaged 30 points a game. Don't you agree?
No question. Anthony Reed, I want to say maybe 50-something% was his free throw shooting, and he would have averaged 30 points a game if he could have made free throws.
And probably nobody in the history of Troy played as hard as Anthony Reed Coach, he was one of the great players of all time.
Yes, he scored more baskets off of getting rebounds off the floor.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody, when they would be tipped around and all, hit the ball. Reed was the first one to get it, put it right back in the goal. And when he left, I don't know if this is true or not. It's true according to Anthony, but he said he never lost a pickup game in 4 years.
I bet.
So, I think it probably could be because if he was losing, he'd say he got fouled if they get the ball back. I mean, he was so competitive, and which is another reason why we won. We had great players, competitive players.
Who's your greatest scorer, though? Daryl Thomas?
Daryl Thomas.
Let's see, probably Dow, because he had a pretty good average for 2 years. He may have scored more points than Terry. I'm not sure. They both were great scorers, though. But here's the difference in being a great scorer. They scored in clutch times. They led us to both of those kids brought us to the Final Four of Division II. And people don't realize how hard that is. We have 50 states in the United States, and the Division II was broken up into 8 divisions across the country. And out of those 8, 4 teams from each division got picked to go to the NCAA tournament. Yeah. So you're not talking about, it's not like Division I where 64 teams go or whatever it is now. You in a league with the schools from the state of Florida, state of Georgia, state of Mississippi, state of Louisiana, and Alabama. And only 4 teams out of all those states got to go.
And there were hundreds of Division II teams nationwide.
Yes, that's exactly right. And so you could never get in. You had to have great players and great teams, and those 2 guys led us to 2 Final Fours. Not only did we get into the NCAAs, but they would win. We won the first region with Darrell Thomas at Virginia Union, who was the host, in front of packed houses. And so Darrell Thomas was a great player. Terry McCord was a great player.
They were great shooters.
Terry McCord was the leading scorer on that 258 team. He could have played. I mean, you had several players that could have played at any level, don't you think, Coach Mestry?
Yeah, we've had a bunch, like little Bobby Dixon, LeVane Wilson. They played in Europe, made a ton of. Bobby became a millionaire. He rides around on a Rolls Royce. He was a great shooting guard for us. We've had kids go to Europe to play over there and do well. Greg Davis had an opportunity to play for the Phoenix Suns.
I remember Greg Davis. He was a great one.
He was the last guy cut because, and it was a fluke. Some high school kid in New York who Nike wanted was one of the first high school kids to go into the pros. When the time came for the draft, they drafted him instead of Greg Davis. But Greg Davis led the nation in assists. He was in the Division I Final Four media guide in San Antonio. He was another great player.
They took a guy named Sebastian Telfair. That was like
But Coach, y'all were always coming up with a big guy.
One of my favorite players growing up, Coach, was a guy named Tony Holly.
Yes, he was a big guy.
Tony, he made a lot of money in England. Tony stayed over there for about 12, 14 years.
He was a Charles Barkley lookalike, wasn't he? He was about 6'5", 6'4", 6'5", that could jump out of the gym.
And scare the heck out of the other team. That's what I liked. He was physical.
Yeah.
And, he could intimidate people.
Yeah, when we played Jacksonville and people like that, we knock them around a little bit.
Well, you had to because
it's amazing the guys y'all ever recruit, Coach. I mean, I can name player after player after player. Yep. I mean, I guess over the years, y'all just built relationships from all these different junior colleges and schools throughout the country. It was amazing. I think one of the key things. I may not know exactly, but one of the key things for us was when the kids would visit our campus, our players did a great job of telling them how much they enjoyed our program. Yeah. So they did the selling as much as we did the selling. And it was because we ran a different program. I'm not saying this is how to win, but it didn't stop us from winning.
And so our guys would go out in the day and walk around.
A lot of them had never seen the ocean before, did they?
Well, we'd play, say, Florida International in Miami. We'd take them down to the Strip, give them 2 hours. We had alumni. We ate at Joe's Crab Shack. You know, we played in Alaska in a tournament. We had a kid named, a 6'8" kid that we went dog sledding. He was in that sled with those dogs. When we played at Utah State, the day of the game, and Allison and them trainer, we took everybody. We went in a not a covered wagon, but it was an open-looking stagecoach thing, and went through herds of elk because they were coming down from the mountains. So our kids, when we went to Hawaii, we went to the Pearl Harbor, the memorial.
Boy.
We just didn't play basketball. Our players, they got the experience, the different places
Sure did.
that we went. We went to Anne Frank's house when we went to Amsterdam. So, and these were all different teams. When we went to my first year, we went to Disney World with a great player named Mac Madison.
Oh, hey, Coach, I look back on all the early stats. Mac Madison dominated. He deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. He's a great player.
Yep, he was the leading scorer in the league when I got here. He was so I knew we had a good player right off the bat. But Mac went on that Space Mountain. Oh my goodness!
Oh gosh!
He was wobbly. Coach, don't ever put me back on.
And he was about 6'7". Boy, he was a great player.
Well,
those are the kind of things we did when we were on the road. Other teams just like to stay in the hotel, go over everything. And I'm not saying that what they're doing is wrong. I'm just saying we had a different outlook, and our players sold other players to come to Troy.
But I tell you,
I mean, Coach, when you went Division I, we couldn't find a conference, so you guys had to travel the whole country to play. I mean, you used to play Chicago State, Loyola, Chicago, probably. You played Valparaiso,
Pace University.
well, I've said it.
You were all over the map.
Well, when we moved to Division I, basketball was you had to have 9 home games, or we couldn't go. So the Heat was on the basketball program. Well, no one would let us in, so we formed a league so that we could get home. You know, you had to play home and away, so we could get about 3 games with other teams like Alabama State and all. But we had Buffalo, Chicago State, Eastern Illinois,
Wright State,
Hofstra in New York, Buffalo. So that league was formed, the East Coast Conference. Therefore, they had to come to Troy to play. And we also had to go up there to play. But when we would go to Buffalo, we went, we went to Niagara Falls. We went to the Canada side. I wanted them to see Niagara Falls. So that league kept us, our whole athletic department in Division I, because you had to be Division I in every sport. So that's why we were in that league, playing the Buffaloes, and in ice and snow. Then we joined another league, and we had Valparaiso, which is ironic. I saw Bryce Drew the other day. He's the head coach at Baylor.
Yeah.
Did
he remember you?
They coached Valparaiso at the time we would play Valparaiso. And not Bryce, but Scott Drew.
Yeah.
Was the head coach at Baylor. Bryce was the head coach at Vandy. He's now a head coach again. But those guys, Valparaiso, came to Troy.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that big game.
Well, it was
I used to beat them. That's
well, we beat them.
Greatest highlights ever in the NCAA tournament is him making the shot against Ole Miss.
That's right. And he came, played at Troy. But the funny thing is, I used to say, Troy didn't realize what basketball was all about across the country. Like Valparaiso is a big-time basketball.
Oh, yeah, Indiana boys.
We didn't even fill the gym up for the game because they didn't know Mr. Basketball from Indiana was there or not. But we did beat them every time we played in Troy.
Yeah, that was.
I think we had the same reps.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you this, and we're going to continue this conversation because it's wonderful. But there's a guy probably shaving right now. His name's Nick Severa. You know that? You remember that name?
Oh, yeah. Nick Severa is one of the all-time greatest people that Troy's ever produced, and he's still a Troy person.
No question about it.
In the last game, I believe.
Oh, no question about it. And he's watching the show right now, and he's loving this along with Wiley Locklear, Joe.
I want to say this in front of Coach Maestri.
When I mentioned about the great people in Troy, the Nick Severas and the Wally Locklear, those are the people I'm talking about. And I remember Nick mentioned it to me. I think he went to the first game at Sartain and the last.
That's right,
so
yeah.
They had the new arena. He came to that new arena when we played Mississippi State because he wanted to be at the first game of the new arena.
That's
but
right.
Nick Severa is one of the great people that is in Troy and also one of the great alums.
No question about it.
The basketball team really took one for the team, to use a cliche, when Troy went Division I. I mean, it was like you were in basketball wilderness with these conferences you had to get in. I don't think you could qualify for the NCAA for 4 or 5 years. It was.
That's what the hard part was. Yeah. No one was penalized but the men's basketball, and you were not allowed to go for 8 years.
8 years.
So it hurt our recruiting initially. Then they changed that to 4, so we got to be able to go. You know, recruiting changed after a few years. Even though we won like the East Coast, we beat Buffalo and Hofstra. We won the East Coast Conference. The first year in Division I, we were conference champions.
You beat people like Wright State, people like that.
You couldn't go anywhere because you were not allowed to go to the NCAA tournament.
Well, and you had all these great rivalries. The fans knew Jack State and Valdosta State and North Alabama. And then all of a sudden you're playing these teams that you don't know, and you know it was just it was a challenge for the basketball program much greater challenge for the basketball program to do what they had to do.
In terms of victories, it was and of gaining large crowds, which we eventually did when we got to the Atlantic Sun and the Sun Belt. But those games were great for our basketball teams. Like we'd go to Hofstra. We went to the New York Knicks game because I knew a player on the team. He got our whole team in. We played at Buffalo. We go to Niagara Falls. Matter of fact, I took the team for a free game meal. And they said, where are we going to eat? And I told them it was some bar. And they said, what are we eating there for? I said, because this is the place that the Buffalo Wings originated. And they were, so that's a memory they'll always have. They ate in the original place.
Well, Coach, I was at that game when we played Niagara. We played them in Buffalo, in the Buffalo gym, but it was in the playoffs, and we played Niagara. You remember that game where y'all
we couldn't
17, 18 each of the snow.
We had to stop in Cleveland and take a bus to get to the game because there was so much snow.
That's right.
That was an NIT game, wasn't it?
It might have been the NIT, yeah.
We were in NIT.
You know,
and that should have been, that's again, you know, that's how difficult it is. NIT games means you won your conference championship at this level. So winning the Sun Belt or winning the Atlantic Sun, if you lost, like we lost in the final game, that's why we went to the NIT, or we'd have gone back-to-back NCAA tournaments.
Yeah.
So that's the tough part about this level is that, you know, if you come in, I remember Wimp Sanderson, we had a meeting when I was at Alabama, and he said, our goal this year is to come in 5th. And I'm thinking, 5th? Why is that, Coach? I mean, we ought to try to, he said, no, that means I get my contract renewed, we all get a raise, and we're going to the NCAA tournament.
That's
I
right.
said, great idea.
The greatest day in Troy University history, in my opinion. Of course, you know, to play Mississippi State at home, that was big. But let me just say this: when all the networks came in there, and we were in the gym, Coach, and waiting for the announcement, and that full gym, and with all the sororities, all the student body. Coach, you remember that day? That was a huge day in Troy history.
And not only was it huge, I had so many coaches call me up afterwards that night because our pep band was the feature band of the NCAA selection show that night.
Yeah, that's
Johnny
right.
Williams, I give Johnny credit for getting ESPN to have us on and me come on afterwards, our pep band behind us. It was a great, great night, and anybody that was there that night will never forget it. It it on TV later.
And then later, yeah, that's right. And
Then
then,
you played Xavier up in Nashville, isn't that correct?
Yes, yep.
and
Had
shot.
a chance at the end to maybe pull that off because they had the most valuable player in the nation was on Xavier's team.
Yeah.
He was in the pros for a lot of
A guy
years.
named Mark West, who was a
Yeah.
great player.
Yep.
But Coach, you also that year, a lot of people don't ever talk about it that much, but you also won against Arkansas in Fayetteville.
That was probably, to me, one of our great accomplishments, but more so for the point guard we had, Greg Davis, because Greg Davis was from Arkansas, and they had about 30 relatives, friends, kids from his high school,
Yeah.
all come to that game. And Arkansas, if you've ever been to Arkansas, it's the best place to watch a college basketball.
Well, it holds 25 or 30,000, doesn't it? That gym holds 25 or 30,000.
The first 21 points of the game, because that was on the ESPN that night also. The first 21 points via 3 points. So we made a little recognition of the 3-point shot right then with that game. But at the end of the game, in the last 3 to 4 minutes, we had the lead. And we got that ball to Greg Davis, and every time he got it, they would foul to try to catch up. And he made every free throw. He was 8 for 8 in the last 3 minutes. Under that kind of pressure with all those people there playing against an SEC team.
Of course,
that was a great win for us, a great win.
They brought out the what is it with their full court press? What were they called?
40 minutes of hell.
40 minutes of hell. And did you know Richardson? Did you ever talk to him about that?
He was not the coach at the time. They had a guy that just had taken his place. Yes, that's it. Dan Heath. Golly, you guys.
Michael Amos is a guru now. He's a guru coach. He forgot. I forgot about. I mean, he forgot about what I know. But
Coach, you also beat Auburn too. What year was that? You beat Auburn in Beardy.
We beat Auburn and Auburn. I remember that was the team I think that ended up winning the Sun Belt. And we should have beat Auburn the year before. We had a 1-point lead, and they shot a daggone air ball, and then we didn't get the rebound and hit in the lane, and they picked it up and pushed it, made it our end of the goal and beat us. But we had a chance to beat them twice. The most disappointing loss, I think, there's about 3 of them over the course of those years, but one of them was at Mississippi State. We should have beat Mississippi State in Stansbury. We were up 2 points, 5 seconds left, and we had the ball facing our goal. And you would think, well, this game's over. All we got to do is throw the ball in.
I remember that so well.
The kid threw the ball backwards towards their goal. I guess he panicked, and they intercepted it and laid it in and went to overtime, and we lost the game. But that was a definite win. Another one that was an awful loss was the Western Kentucky game, where if we make one free throw, we win the game. With 5 or 6 seconds left, we missed the free throws. They got the ball, shot it from half court, and it went in and put it into overtime. And we lost that, and they went on to go to the Sweet 16. That was
I think the greatest comeback I ever saw you guys have was up in the tournament up in Belmont that night in Nashville when you were down to Georgia State by about 14 points with about 3 minutes left. Came back and won that game.
That I think that was truly a miracle. I don't know how we won that game. I know one thing, a lot of times we'll say, well, you're great coaching, and there are times you had absolutely nothing to do with the game. The coach had nothing to do with winning the game. And that was one of them that we had nothing to do with winning the game.
Coach, we talked about a lot of folks so far, but something a guy that we missed out on talking much about is your assistant coach, Felix. What a combination, Coach, of 2 people and not only great friends but great competitors.
Well, David was not only I call him the co-coach because without David we'd have never had all the success. I mean, it would have been impossible.
Was he a great recruiter, Coach?
He's a great recruiter. Well, anybody that meets David for the first time thinks they know it. I mean, he's got that type of personality.
think
maybe,
that's
I'm not
right,
sure,
Coach.
But he was a great player, David Felix.
Yeah.
But as a coach, the thing about David was that he just had that unique ability to be a coach on the floor during the game, but also as a recruiter. Anybody that met David, they'll tell you when we met, we had a kid named Andre Hills.
Oh man, I remember him.
He was our first player to intimidate Jack State, and that's why we hired. That's why we recruited him, because they had a guy named McKellar that went on to be in the Super Bowl 4
That's
times.
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And so we got Andre Hills to say we got a guy to intimidate him.
You
Well,
darn
when
right. He was
when
something.
we got Andre said, Coach, I'm just going to come visit because of you. I have no idea going to Troy. I'm not going to go to Troy, but I'll visit because you want me to visit. And lo and behold, Andre Hills ended up at Troy because of David Kidd.
He was from South Carolina. I'll remember that.
Yes, indeed. And he was, we called him the master because he was half man and half monster.
I know this. He was one of the best looking. You remember his calves and his legs? He had what you call racehorse legs. He was a great physical guy.
Intimidating and competitive. That's another thing. We had such great competitors over the years. There's so many of them. You can't compliment them all, but that's how you win. You got to have great competitors.
And of course there was one guy, local guy, and who was one of the all-time great players that you did not get to coach, but he coached at Charles Henderson for all those years. Carl Hollis, coach.
Carl Hollis, he played with David. And to be honest, Carl Hollis deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, I know he does.
that,
And
yeah.
I hope a lot of people are listening. You're right. He does deserve it. You're right.
And Carl Hollis, a lot of people don't realize he was drafted by the Indiana Pacers.
Yeah.
There are not many people drafted in the NBA from Troy basketball, I'll tell you. And Hollis was the first one. Unbelievable player, unbelievable rebounder.
And coach, he would have ate the 3-point play up. He would have ate the 3-point play up. No telling what he would have averaged, coach.
Yeah.
Cause he shot from way back, did he? Coach?
No, he was an inside guy.
No.
He played inside.
But
Felix
no.
was the three-point.
You're thinking about Darren Faison.
Yeah, but let me tell you, he shot a lot of balls from outside too. He was a good outside shooter.
Terry
Didn't he have a
McCoy.
brother? Didn't he have a brother too that was really good?
Yeah, they had two brothers. One of them.
But Carl Hollis now, another guy who was also a great person besides being a great basketball player. But he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
Is Coach Felix in the playoffs with Freeport, Coach? Will he be there Saturday?
He's going to be there Saturday. If he wins tonight, he'll have to play Friday. But he's having a pretty decent season at Freeport.
That's
It's a
right.
heck of a job. You get to live in Destin, Florida.
And I live 15 miles down the road from him in Drayton. So I've been living the beach life for 3 years with my family down here as well.
Coach, one of your former players is Tim Faison, Darren's little brother and Sheila's little brother.
250-18.
He was on that team and got a lot of minutes. But he's now coaching Charles Henderson, and they're having a really good year this
They
year.
won 19 games already.
He's done a great job coaching that high school team. They're very, very good, too. And Tim's done a great job. He's really put his heart and soul into coaching.
Yeah. Well, I know this. They're not dodging who they play. They play Mountain Brook, and they play the Vestavia and several big schools.
Well, that's
Of course, your old friend, Coach Dwayne Rebo, is assistant for Bucky at Stanford. He got back into coaching. What did you think of that?
Well, the whole group that talked to Bucky a few weeks ago because Chuck Ash's son,
Bubba?
Bubba.
Yeah.
They just hired Bubba over at Stanford.
Wonderful.
He heads up that academic program over there. Bucky and him, they sent me a picture together. But Bucky was at Birmingham Southern. Dwayne was the head coach at Birmingham Southern. And another guy that last year that came over was Mitch Cole. He was the head coach at Birmingham Southern.
Well, how about the other guy?
He's married to Amy Cole, who's one of my sister's best friends. They were Alpha Gams together at Auburn.
Oh, okay. Well, anyways, Bubba's going to help him because they got too many Birmingham Southern guys in that staff.
You know,
whatever happened to your other buddy, Jimmy Follett? Whatever happened to him?
Yeah, what happened to Tillett?
Jimmy's kind of a sad story. Jimmy was coaching at Newman, you know, where little Arch Manning goes and all. And but Jimmy, a few months ago, had a stroke.
Oh boy!
Oh wow, I hate that.
And just it was hard to believe because he could still play. He was in phenomenal shape. Just shows you how those things happen. There's no explanation, but he's recovering from a stroke, Jimmy. And he was one of the great
y'all used to have some battles. Y'all had some battles against Stanford back in the day in the TAC.
Yeah, they were really good. They had guys that played overseas in the pros for a long time too.
Well, they knew how to sit on the ball. Sanford would sit on the ball. Isn't that right, Coach?
well, let's look about
it. All that Princeton stuff.
Yeah,
and they were good at it. Matter of fact, the Princeton coach was watching them on TV one night because this became Joe Scott was the head coach at Denver, and Joe, when we played in the Sun Belt, Joe and I were talking. He said that Coach Carrill, who was the head coach of Princeton, one night they're watching Sanford in the tournament, and he said, "Those guys run it better than we do."
the only problem is those guys didn't have Bill Bradley. They didn't have Bill Bradley.
No, but that's a heck of a compliment.
You know, I want to.
Princeton is saying the other guy runs it better.
We're celebrating all of Coach Maestri and Felix's teams Saturday, but we're going to put a special highlight on the team that set a record that nobody's come close to breaking of
Can you
scoring
believe that's been 30
points.
years, Coach?
But
that record will never be broken. Coach.
But that was no fluke. I mean, I think you mentioned, Coach Maestri, that one season Troy University basketball averaged 122 points. Is that
right.
what you said?
I think it was 121, yeah.
For a whole season, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep. There were probably, I don't know, there was 15 so games it was above. I mean, it would just be 140, 130, 115. I mean, there's
Well, Coach, I remember one time. You remember the night we went up to Auburn, and you know, Auburn had been playing just half-court basketball, and but against us, they showed us. I think they scored 147 points. We scored 129 or something like that. It was a bunch.
I think that was. I could be wrong. It probably still is the most points that Auburn has ever.
That's
scored.
right. That's right. The most they've ever scored, I think.
I might be wrong about that. Somebody told me that, and I'm thinking, darn, we got the record at Auburn for the other team.
Yeah.
I'll tell you how nice it was, Coach. We chartered a bus and went up there.
That was a big deal that Auburn would play Troy at that time. That was,
and we chartered a bus and went up there, and of course we were disappointed, but not about one thing. We scored 129
Wesley
points.
Person was on that team.
Yes.
We had Sonny Smith on about a month ago, Coach, and he was talking about Auburn basketball back then and saying he thought it was a Final Four team. Auburn's pretty phenomenal in basketball this year, #1 team in the country.
They're really good. I've watched them play a few times. I went to the game, and they're good. Alabama had a legit chance to win that, Alabama, but Auburn has got all the pieces up.
Yeah.
From point guards to shooters to 7-footer inside, the leading shot blocker in the nation, to a freshman it's going to be the top pick in the NBA draft. A 6'10" kid that shoots threes. He would have loved to play for us.
Do you see?
He'd be averaging 40 a game the way he shoots threes. They have a great basketball team, and you know, and they've gotten the home court advantage, which is become a big thing. They were so smart when they rebuilt the gym, and they put all the students on the floor.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and just you know, people get involved with wanting to make money sometimes, and really, the way to have a good program is to win.
Yeah. Well, Coach, you pretty much designed the Trojan Arena, and
boy, it's beautiful.
It's a marvel, the beauty of the Trojan Arena, and tell us about how you, as a coach, were able to design that court.
I'd have to give Dr. Hawkins a lot of credit for that, because we took a plane and went to about 4 arenas across the country with an architect, and we wanted to pick something out, and I think picked a little piece of different ones, and said, this is what fit Troy. Ours is prettier than any of the ones we visited, to be honest.
Oh, yeah.
It's absolutely beautiful, and all the little the details from the lighting to the floor, the concourse, the tiles, everything is just.
They didn't skip any money, did they? They spent money on it, didn't they?
It's beautiful.
Yep, but it's to me it's one of the prettiest places, and the right size, because you don't want it too big. And that was another idea, but that also came from Auburn's guy was involved a little bit. He gave us some ideas too.
Did you coach against Croft when he was at Arlington? Did you ever coach?
No, they were not in our league. Our league at that time was, oh my God, Middle Tennessee, Western Kentucky, North Texas, Florida International, Florida Atlantic. I mean, it was a total. Well, those guys are all in USA Conference now.
Yeah.
So it was a totally different league, and we didn't have Arlington. The only school was North Texas from Texas, and it was that league was. It's kind of like every league we've been in. I'll be honest with you. Johnny Jones, the LSU coach, was at North Texas. Kermit, who's now the head coach at Ole Miss. Stanberry's the head coach at Mississippi. You know what I mean? That. And then when we went to Atlantic Sun, you had the Lefty Drizzells and the Hugh Durham.
Yes, sir. You're right. You're exactly right.
We were never in a league that wasn't a great league with great coaches.
That's right.
So to be competitive, we were really proud of that. Of course, a lot of times your people at home don't know it. And I used to brag about our fans because the level that we were at, you don't really go on the road and travel hard very often. So you got to depend on the people that come to the games in Troy. And over the 30 years, we won 70% of the home games.
That is phenomenal.
So
Yeah,
if you bought a season ticket, you were having a chance to see out of every 10 games, 7 victories. So, that was a good ticket for, if you lived in Troy.
Well, no question about it,
that
Coach.
first night, Western Kentucky came into Sartain, and y'all had, they had a great team. They probably brought 200 fans. I was shocked. I was like, they're bringing 200 fans. It's like on a regular, like Thursday night, Wednesday night, and y'all just shot lights out, beat them by 20.
Yeah.
That was a great victory that night. They had 2 great guards. One of them, Courtney Lee, was a first-round pick in the NBA draft.
Yeah, he just left. I think he was in the NBA for about 12 years or something. He was good. But we shot the lights out, and we had a great crowd. A lot of people came because, they were picked to win the league. And I told Felix before the season that of all games for us to have to open up with in this new conference at home is the team that's supposed to win the league. Well, it ended up working out in our favor because we played great.
Well, against Mississippi State that day, the
Western Kentucky.
Western Kentucky.
Western Kentucky.
Well, you beat Mississippi State.
The Western Kentucky game. Matter of fact, before half, Sammy Sharp, we threw the ball down and he was running. He grabbed it and dumped that thing when the buzzer went off, and the place went crazy.
Yeah.
At halftime, and I knew then. I said, "Well, we may have a chance to win this game." And then we just shot. Oh my goodness! In the second half, that right corner over there, we had guys sitting on the sideline. There were so many people, and they would high five the kid after he hit the 3.
Well, I tell you what, though.
It was a great show that night, man.
Yeah. Coach, for 30 years, you gave us excitement that we didn't have for a long time. And, gosh, Coach, when you walk back to that old gym, you made a lot of things happen for our program, and we appreciate it so much.
Of course, that old gym got demolished, Coach. You had that shed a tear when Sartain got torn down, didn't you?
Yeah, but the new place kind of makes you forget that pretty quickly.
Yeah, you're right.
Of course, it's Court Maestri. It's not Maestri Court. It's Court Maestri.
Well,
Arena.
Dr. Hawkins had wanted to be a little unique. Some people, I saw where they named LSU the Dale Brown Court a few weeks ago, and so ours is a little different, but heck, it cost me $100 to get a painted to break that.
Oh gosh. Well, I tell you what, for as long as
where are your former coaches? Ben Fletcher, is he still at Kennesaw State?
Ben's at Kennesaw. Anthony Sewell was at Alabama State for a long time. Robbie Lang's at Central Florida. William Small was at Iowa State.
You didn't have a lot of changeover, did you?
Do what now?
You didn't have a lot of turnover in your staff, did you?
Well, the main thing was that we kept Felix.
Yeah.
That was the key to the whole thing, to be honest with you. I mean,
Billy Jeffco's coaching his son at Pikeville Arts, no?
Yeah, that's right. Sure is.
And good luck to that kid.
Coach, you're right. They've got some good-looking kids on that team.
But now Billy was such a key factor for our success, because I hired him after he finished playing for us, and he went out and got a kid named Fred Spencer from Chipola Junior College, another guy that looked like a Manster, but his biggest thing that he saved our jobs, really, he got a kid named Dedrick Golden.
Oh boy, from Chicago, from Memphis.
Dedrick Golden was third-team All-Conference at Memphis in that league, but that league then had Louisville and everybody else in it. It was not the league it is Memphis' league now. They had big-time teams in that league.
Yeah.
And here we get the starting point guard who got in an altercation with his coach. They got in an argument, and Billy got that kid to transfer to Chicago. And in 1 year's time, we won the league. The very first year that kid stepped on the court, we beat Stanford at once. And Stanford had their same team back from the year before that won the league. And we won the league over Stanford because of Billy getting us Dedrick Golden, who also was the most valuable player in the league.
I remember you called me up. You called me up and said Billy got to do a big story on this kid, and I said okay.
Yeah.
But Billy was responsible for that, and really turned our fortunes around in Division I. Once we won that Atlantic Sun, we went on to win 4 in the 5 years.
Yeah. Coach, you mentioned go ahead.
The other time.
Coach, you're leaving somebody out. Coach, you're leaving somebody out, and his name is Tom Enzi.
Oh, my man.
Well, was Enzi a big part of your program and your success?
He'll be there Saturday. He's coming Saturday.
Coach, a brilliant, probably one of the most brilliant guys out there in the. Wouldn't you say that?
He wrote an article on me, but he used all New Orleans lingo.
Did he?
And he would spell New Orleans Nawlins, and he would say da and dem, D-E-M. I mean, it was awesome. When you read it, you actually thought this guy from New Orleans was talking to you.
Hey, Coach.
He was really a brilliant guy.
Coach, he was a songwriter, too. And he fired old string, and he fired Allen Biddle, and he fired a buck that he didn't know. You remember that song?
Well, I got to talk to Tom because of and get all the records and the scorebook from that 258 game is just it's a sight to behold.
Yeah, I don't know. Somebody need to hire him at an accounting department that kept that scorebook.
It was 130.
Well, I remember the scoreboard did not go to 200. I was expecting it to show, but it went back to at the end of the game. I think it showed Troy had 58 points.
Right, but there's no 2 in that spot.
I can remember one thing. We had 130 points at the half. At the half, 130 points, I want to say.
I remember Steve Hunt hit this three-pointer that made it 200.
That's exactly. He'll be here, too. Steve is coming in also. But he hit the 200 points. He sure did.
Yeah.
Coach, we talked about your experience. I know you went and coached for a dear friend, Billy Kennedy at Texas A&M. Did you enjoy doing that after your tour was over?
It was a great experience. I got to see a lot more things, just from a basketball standpoint. If Billy wouldn't have given me that opportunity, like playing at Kansas.
Oh, yeah, that was something,
the history of that place. Being in tournament, going to the Sweet 16, beating we're the only team in NCAA history to beat North Carolina in North Carolina to advance to the Sweet 16.
Oh, boy.
Didn't just beat them, Coach, blew them out.
Yes, beat the heck out of them. And we played at West Virginia. I'd never been there, and that place to me is one of the all-time great It's dug down into the ground like in a giant hole. I mean, it's below the earth. And when you come out in the warm-ups, they got guys with these raccoon skin hats on, crocking up there with their rifles, and they shoot their guns off in the introduction. So Billy gave me a chance, and my wife also, because he would let us her fly with us sometime. She had never seen Rupp Arena, so I wanted her to go with us, and Billy would always work it out where the wife could go with you.
Well,
so,
Coach,
Dick Vitale did the game at Rupp Arena, and he and my wife Sharon got to talk and meet. So Billy gave us experiences that I will always be grateful for.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, that is.
How's he doing with his health, Coach? I know
believe it or not, he's doing great. He's at Wichita State now, but the Parkinson thing. He's got a couple of these specialist doctors that he met at A&M. One guy was owned a horse farm that got him involved with these doctors, and the treatment. It's just been amazing. I mean, he's gotten better.
I need to find out what to do, Coach.
Yeah, Mike's got Parkinson's.
Coach, I've had Parkinson's for the last
for 10 years.
10 years or more.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I use the group out of Birmingham. They're real good doctors too.
Yeah. And that was another thing. We got when we played Kentucky, because of this guy that owns the horse farm that Billy met, we got over there with the Kentucky Derby champion and everything else. Out there with the race horses.
Yeah.
And so the Texas A&M experience, but I'll tell you what about Texas A&M that was the greatest experience for me. It's a public school, but it's not. It is a military school.
Mm-hmm.
They still have the band, the cheerleaders back. If you go back to World War II, you would see the same signal that the cheerleaders give. The band still marches in uniform. The Corps of Cadets. I'd go to work sometime at 5:30 in the morning because I was waking up early, and I would see these students out there jogging, and I'd say, "What are they jogging at 5:30 in the morning?" Well, it was all the Corps of Cadets, freshmen coming in.
Yeah.
And they are so big into tradition at that school. For a public school, I've never seen tradition like Texas A&M.
They have more unique
Matter of fact,
traditions.
one of the signs that really impressed me was that General Patton said, if we want to win a battle, we're going to pick people from West Point. If we want to win a war, we're picking people from Texas A&M. So, those are the kind of traditions at that school that have never left. They still there.
Well, Coach, you didn't.
I've never been to a football game there. I've always wanted to go. I know you helped out a lot of Troy people at games and took them on tours and stuff. I remember Bill Jackson was saying you took him on the tour, I think.
Yeah, wanted him to see, all the stuff at A&M. But the A&M game, the football game, they have the best students in the league. Well, maybe in the country. If you're losing by 30, they don't leave. They are loyal to that program, win or lose, no matter what the score is. And even Saban said the best students in the whole country are the Texas A&M students.
Well,
they will cheer all the way to the end of that game, down by 30. It doesn't make any difference. So it's a unique place. It really is. And if you ever have a chance to go to a game there, you need to go.
Don, of course, your wife. You didn't know that you would meet your wife in the classroom. Tell us about that. And she was and of all the places that she was from Ohio and going to Troy University.
Well, I really didn't meet her in the classroom. I met her at the swimming pool at my apartment complex. We had believe it or not, we had about 6 teachers living at Trojan Arms, all single teachers, and we got together. We cook out at the pool and everything else, and that was another great. And then around the block, a few more places over was Dr. Carroll. He lived in apartments over there, and there's so many great memories of Troy that it meant everything to me in my life. And then of course marrying someone, and 36 years we've been married, so
that's wonderful.
It's been a great. Troy just worked out great for me. That's all I can say.
How about your church?
Coach, I love Tuscaloosa. It's one of my favorite places. What made y'all decide to choose Tuscaloosa as home? I know you coached there. Did you just really enjoy your time in Tuscaloosa?
My son, who went to Pike Lebanon, he graduated from Alabama, and then Michael, he's teaching in Austin, Texas now, and my daughter is in Georgia. She's working. Her husband, Zach Swindle.
Yeah.
They've got a great company going in nationwide, really. But anyway, when I decided to leave A&M, I tried to figure out, like, how do you have a great lifestyle after you retire? And you can live in New Orleans, which is my hometown. You could live in a bigger city, but then you travel for 45 minutes to go to a Saints game or whatever. The best place in the world is Tuscaloosa. And probably Auburn would be the same way, but I knew more about Tuscaloosa. And that you can get anywhere in 15 and 20 minutes to restaurants, but you have big-time athletics right there.
Yeah.
Big-time football, which is pretty obvious. That's pretty big-time.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
You got all SEC basketball, and we've gotten into the softball even, their softball program.
Yeah.
If the games go by fast, they're exciting, they have great players. And they're sold out again this year. We just bought out.
Look out for Troy, Coach. Troy got an outstanding girls softball team too.
Yeah. But that's what happened.
Coach Murphy's done a great job there. He's been there a long, long time, 25 years.
He just got put into the Hall of Fame, Alabama Hall of Fame this year, Coach Murphy. And another guy that's like Oates and them, Murphy's old school. I see him at church a lot. He's a Catholic. He goes to mass during the week, and his sister does also. But the thing is, if you live in Tuscaloosa, you can have restaurants. You can enjoy this. You got different seasons, and you're not seeing just regular teams. You're seeing SEC teams, and of course, and the softball just got ranked. Oklahoma's #1 in the nation. Alabama's #2. So you're getting to see a high quality of play also, besides watching SEC teams. So it's a great way to, just like the other night, we were at they honored at the Baylor game, they honored the 82 team at halftime, which was Wimp's team when I was there, for winning the SEC and going to the Sweet 16. And the place was packed. And then, like the Kentucky game I went to the other day, the place was packed.
They're huge basketball fans. They really are.
Who were some of the players on that 82 team, Coach Maestri?
Well, one of them is it was two great ones, 2 first-round draft choices. You wonder why we won?
Mew King
is the first-round pick of the Atlanta Hawks, and Edis Watley. Edis Watley was the best point guard in the nation, and he played in the league, NBA, for about 10 or 12 years, and he was there. He's a public speaker now.
Wow.
A little kid from Birmingham. Did this invocation before we ate lunch. You spent the whole day. We actually went to practice that morning, that 82 team. And then, so we felt like we were part of the Baylor win, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I saw you on Tide Television. I saw you getting pictures with players and stuff. I was going to ask you about that. Was T.R. Dunn or Mike Davis on those teams too?
No, Mike was on the team, but Mike's coaching, so he's the one guy. The whole team basically came back. T.R. Dunn had graduated a couple years before, but Mike Davis was on that team. He was a great basketball player too for us.
Well,
he's the head coach at Detroit Mercy now, so he couldn't get away.
Coach, a wonderful show today. We're going to run this show again this afternoon, and we'll probably run it another time before the big weekend. But, Coach, what a weekend in store for you. This is your life, Don Maestri. How about that?
Yeah.
And
Let me tell you something, Mr. Amos. You were at the first game that I was coaching at Troy. You were in my highlight tapes of the Showtime. You were talking about how exciting it was, and you have never left us, and still are with me in my heart.
I appreciate that. Appreciate you saying that. You're the same with us, too.
We talk about you all the time. I mean, you think about what Troy had. They had Don Maestri, Chase Riddle and Larry Blakeney,
That was pretty.
just for all that were there for just a long time, just incredible runs and success, and just class people, more importantly.
Tell me about your experience with Coach Chase Riddle. What a guy he was.
Well, Chase is like the guy I was talking about, the Bear Bryant of the world, that made you feel like you knew him.
You're right.
The first time you met Chase.
Is that right? Coach, we got to go off there, but Coach, we'll see you Saturday. It's going to be a lot of fun.
All right, I'm going to interview y'all. I'm going to try to talk to y'all and do a story.
Yep, looking forward to it.
All right, thank you so much. Wonderful interview.
Thank you.
Hope you enjoyed our show. See you tomorrow, bright and early, for Today in L.A.
Our community is the driving